On this episode of the Real Life Caddie podcast, Michael Zabbo makes a return from his short hiatus. Zabbo and I kick things off by discussing the Women's US Open. We give a brief synopsis of the event, and Zabbo makes a confession about women's professional golf. We then chat about caddie stories from our own lives, which involves some stories about caddying for ladies. I'm not going to lie, we can somewhat get critical about ladies in the golf course at times. However, our recent experiences have been very, very positive. After caddie stories, we turn our attention towards the listener mailbag, and as always, the questions do not disappoint. We round things off by giving out some shoutouts. If you've any feedback or questions, please email us podcast@glorifieddonkey.com or contact us on social media. Please also check out our podcast sponsor, Big Game Golf. Download the app today and start enjoying your golf matches more. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of the Real Life Caddie podcast. This one is called Ladies' Day at the Big Course. Zabbo's back.
I am. Good to be back.
Were you at Disneyland?
I was not at Disneyland. I had a little illness I was taking care of, so I was away from the podcast for an episode.
Fresh pants?
Fresh pants. Everything's fresh. We're good to go.
How's your diet coming?
My diet's actually really good. I'm still off the sugar. My gut has essentially healed itself, I'm telling you. There's something to this no sugar thing, I'm telling you.
Shocker.
Really?
Now, we're called this.
It turns out you can't have 3 Coca-Colas a day and 4 Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah, it's not good for you.
I have seen you do 2 bottles of Coke in a round.
Yeah, I know. That was not uncommon back in the day.
What have you replaced it with?
Probably a little more coffee, but mostly water. Mostly water and then carbonated water. You know, I get a lot of the LaCroix and the flavored water. But yeah, sugar-free on all drinks.
It's worth mentioning who sponsors our podcast.
Big Game Golf.
The Big Game Golf. If you haven't downloaded the app, please do.
Definitely.
Now, we called this one Ladies' Day at the Big Course. Mm-hmm. Why do we call it that?
Well, we just had a historic U.S. Women's Open Championship at the Big Course, Pebble Beach. The Pebble Beach Women's U.S. Open. It was a raging success, in my opinion.
Yes, I didn't actually know the women had a U.S. Open.
Get out of here.
And it was a shock to me that it turned out this was the 79th.
78th. But who's
okay? 79, but next year, yes. They previously had 77. That's incredible. Yeah. I hadn't heard about any of them.
And I honestly thought it was. Did you watch much of it?
I put money on this girl called Rose Zhang, who apparently is going to be the next big thing. She's the Tiger Woods of golf.
She's supposed to be,
and looks more like Michelle Wee to me.
In what way?
Well, she was a dud.
Well, in that tournament, she finished top 10. I wouldn't say she was a dud, but yeah, she didn't come away and win it as most, including myself, thought she would.
Well, people who listen to this podcast for a long time will know who Chris McCoppin is.
Absolutely.
Chop Shop.
Texas, yeah.
And his wife, who I gave a hump into on the golf course, let's say.
Yeah, that's easy there, easy.
Dylan, she was in with her friend.
She was, Michelle, yeah.
For this tournament. They came over for dinner, and she'd been texting me a couple of weeks previous to this, talking about how excited she was about it, how great this Rose Zhang. I didn't know who Rose Zhang was, and I looked into it. And I ended up putting money on her. We weren't working. I heard some horror stories about potential local caddies doing jobs, and
the pay. Yeah.
The pay. Yeah. Shocking, absolutely shocking. But it was on the background. I was doing a lot of other things in the house, and I had the golf on the background. She was one of the featured groups. Very disappointing, and she owes me $100.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't play great. You know, if did you watch a lot of the broadcast throughout the week? I watched a ton. I was out there a few days, and I watched a ton. And it was the common theme. I mean, we watched a little bit together, and it's most of the greens when they were lining up, you're like, they have no chance where they're aiming. They're not reading these even near right. I think that's what differs between the men's game and the women's game. The men's game, they play out here every single year in the AT&T. So those guys, those tour caddies and the players, they have a good sense of what they're, well, mostly, more so than the women.
I'm not
what
sure.
they're doing on the green. These women had no clue.
I disagree. I think there's a lot of differences, swing speed, distance.
Yeah, but ball striking. I'm saying scoring wise, the real difference out there for the championship was compared to the men was the putting.
The putting.
They did not make many putts.
Yes.
Other than maybe Charlie Hull on Sunday. She played a phenomenal round and made a lot of putts.
Okay, so you went along there. You were actually at the event?
I was at the event.
In person?
Yeah.
A couple of days?
Couple of days. I think we talked about it briefly. I enjoy golf a lot more watching on TV. I really do. You really can't see much when you're out there live. You're watching one hole, a couple girls come through. You can't really see a whole lot.
I think the comment in the text message, Zabbo, was, I've come to the conclusion I only enjoy watching golf when I'm getting paid carrying the bag.
Yeah, well, that was part of the comment. I do not want to be out walking a golf course if I'm not getting paid. Correct.
Yes.
That's accurate. I mean, why would I walk a golf course if I'm not getting paid?
True. I've said that for a long time. I think sport in general, once television gets involved in the last 10, 15, 20 years, ever since Sky Sports really took it, in my opinion, to the next level back in the UK with Premier League football, the whole geographic of sport and how we watch it has changed.
Yeah, it's almost always better watching it on television.
Did you walk around the course? Is that your thing?
We did a little bit. I mean, I have my daughter with me both days, so I have a 7-year-old with me. So we're only walking so far. We can't make it too far out there before she's, oh, my legs are tired. I want to go back in. I'm like, all right, I get it.
I think the way to watch golf, if you are, is get behind a short par 4, where you know that they're only going to come in from 100 yards or so, or on a par 3.
And that's exactly what we did on Sunday. We went by, we stood there by number 4 for a while and watched them come in, and then we could see them tee off 5, the par 3 right there, and watch their short approaches in on 4, which was fun, super fun.
The girl Nelly Corda, Nelly the Elephant, I'm very disappointed in watching her as well. She was one of the featured groups on.
Why
on
do
the
you
TV.
call her Nelly the Elephant?
Well, that's the only Nelly that I can go with. You never heard of Nelly the Elephant?
No,
that's a UK thing.
Oh, gotcha. She's one of the best players in the world, but she's just coming off an injury. So she doesn't have her A game, and she
it didn't stop her this week in London, did it?
Why? What'd she do this week in
Apparently,
London?
the women have a tournament in London. They play golf in Europe.
Oh, did she win?
I don't know. She was leading by 6, so I would hope so.
Yeah, well, good for her.
And who won it?
She's a good player. Alison Corpuz.
Is she Asian?
She is. She's from Hawaii, but yes, she is. I think her father's Korean and maybe mother Filipino, something like that.
Yeah, when I was coming up the day before the tournament or the course closed, they have all the pictures of the previous winners. You had to go some way back before you got anything that wasn't Asian that had won this thing.
It
10,
took
12.
off. It was
domination.
It was the 20 anniversary of Sairi Pak when she won, and they said after she won, golf took off over so big time. I mean, the majority of the champions have come from Korea. I mean, because she changed the women's game, especially for over there. But I thought Alison Corpuz was a great champion. I love seeing her win. She played phenomenal, and I loved the award ceremony afterwards. Did you see the award ceremony?
No.
They actually give the caddy a USGA plate now for being the winning caddy. It was pretty nice.
Wonder where we've seen that before, huh? Maybe in Live Golf. The people who are watching Live Golf. Is that what's happened?
Well, it's good tradition.
Well, I didn't watch any on Sunday. I watched a little in the morning, and then I had to get back to work because we are caddies.
We are caddies.
We're golf caddies.
Yeah, and it was a slow week for most caddies. It was not a money making week for.
I only know of about 4 or 5 caddies that were out there.
Yeah, and we got to shout those guys out. Casey Boynes, his gal made the cut. Chris Rose, his girl made the cut, and
Charlie
Parker, his girl made the cut. Yeah.
You told me a story about John Jackson getting a couple of offers. Michael Block's caddy got a couple of offers.
No, you told me the story. I didn't. Tell
I told you the story. Yeah, and he just hung up on them. Like, no.
The money wasn't there.
The money's not there, no. And I think in the ladies' game more and more, or more so than the men, is I'll take my coach.
Yeah, they do a lot of that, and it's
your coach is your coach, your caddy's your caddy. You need to separate these things.
And we caddies are not stupid. When we see that tournament coming into town, we look at what the purse is going to be. That was a large purse. I'm not doing it for a standard fee. If I'm going to caddy for you, we're going to be talking percentage before that week starts.
Yeah. It's just like your wife and your girlfriend. Don't mix, business with pleasure. Do you know what I mean? So I had, leading up to this, obviously, ladies, it would be a good time to talk about some caddy stories.
Yeah, some lady caddy stories.
So I was doing a job a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. Can't remember. Everything kind of merges together.
It does. It blends together.
But I was carrying for two ladies called Denise and Lorraine.
Okay.
I was meant to carry for somebody else, but he never turned up. He decided that he'd had an injury the night before, but obviously didn't tell us. So it was a corporate job. And I look at, obviously, the cart, and there's this lady said, "Oh, I'm filling in for him." And I went, "Oh, no.
Red flags. Red flags."
No, okay. That
Blue flag?
it lasted for about 5 seconds, Zabbo, when all of a sudden she turned to the starter and said, "Listen, I'm just making sure that everyone knows they got to tip their caddy on tap."
Oh, that's my girl.
Oh,
that's my girl.
Nice to meet you. I'm the big G. Her name was Denise, and she was an absolute gem. Lorraine was a lady who didn't play golf, left-hander. She never got the club head as she pulling it back above the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of tough for me. I'm not gonna lie. There was
frustrating.
It was 5 and a bit hours of getting up, because at the end of the day, she plays once a year.
Yeah.
But she'd earned the right to be here. So,
and she wanted to like play it out?
No. So
she's picking up.
She would hit the drive, hit the ball in the rough and say, "I'm just going to putt."
Perfect.
I'd say, "Are you sure?" And she'd go, "Yep, no, I'm putting."
Nice.
So just pick the ball up. They would having a cocktail. The lady Lorraine, she hit a couple of good shots, but they were the absolute joy to be around. And I said to the other caddy, I said, "You know what? We talk badly about caddying for ladies a lot of the time."
Well, you do, yeah.
Maybe I'm just honest in the podcast about it, but sometimes they're absolute joy, and
they can be.
Denise and Lorraine were absolutely wonderful. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Do you have any lady stories lately?
Yeah, I have one. You talked about a good one. I actually had a pretty good one too. So it was a referral from a Canadian friend of mine, Randy Gilowich. Shout out to you, Randy. But Brooke Hill and Glen Hill. So Glen the
Hills.
The Hills, yeah.
The
the Hills? So they were coming down from Canada. Glen was, you get a lot of the father-son trips, graduation reward trips. This was a reward trip for She graduated optometry school, so she's an optometrist already practicing. And she was like a pretty good amateur player. He's a former golf pro, so you talk about a treat to caddy for. Super nice to caddy for. She could play. She was around even par every day. He didn't play as great, but super fun to be around. So anyways, we get done on, I think it was the last day. And you know how the shuttles come every 15, half an hour. Mm-hmm. So the shuttle, they were a good 25, 30 minutes from the shuttle coming. I was like, you know what? You guys are great. Why don't I just give you a ride back to the hotel? This will be great. So you know how you're walking up the hill when you're done from the big course. You're walking back to the parking lot. So I'm driving.
Is it a mile? We worked out yet?
It's about a mile. I actually have a scooter, so I don't have to walk back up the hill. So anyways, I'm driving Brooke and Glenn back to the hotel. And we're at the stop sign there, and who do we see? But wee Man Bun is walking up. So Brooke's an attractive young lady. She's in the passenger. I said, this is Brandon. He's my friend. Lived in Florida with him. He actually does the podcast with us. So Brooke rolls down the window, and she's got some spunk to her, and she's pretty funny. And she rolls down the window, and she looks over, and she goes, "Hi, Brandon." And Brandon just like, "Whoa, what's up? And Brandon looks at me and he's like, he doesn't see her dad's in the backseat. I'm a happily married man. And Brandon's looking at me like, "What are you pulling, Zabbo?" And he goes, he's married, right? He's married. So Brandon's trying to block me from hooking up with Brooke, who is just a nice young lady I was caddying for. It was hilarious. And
Brandon stuff.
Brandon was, sorry, Brandon. She's taken. She has a boyfriend.
Getting all hot and tickled. Did he text you?
He did text me later. He's like, "What's her deal?" I'm like, "Brandon, lay off." She's got a boyfriend, but they were a treat to caddy for. Good players. Another one of those instances of good experiences with women.
Yeah. Did the father just say, "Here, do your own thing"? Or I'll take care of myself. You just concentrate on her.
Absolutely. That's exactly. Yeah, you called that on the money. As soon as he started, he's like, "Look, you can help me out as much as you want, but this is really about her. Let's focus on her."
One thing you didn't mention, Zabbo, was you caddying at your home course.
Oh yeah! So the whole week, like we said, it was a pretty slow week for the hay. About 2 weeks before the tournament, my good friend Larry Fitzgerald was in town for another tournament. What are you laughing at? What is so funny?
Yeah, my good friend Kevin Costner. Okay.
Larry is a good friend.
Okay.
So anyways.
Talks highly of you,
Larry,
too.
he does, actually. Anyway, so Larry's in town a few weeks before the Women's Open, and he's playing in another tournament, not at the resort, and he calls me up. He's like, hey, I'm going to the range. You want to meet me over there? So I met him over. We're talking. He's like, hey, I'm going to be back in a few weeks for the Women's Open, playing in the
78th Women's Open.
The 78th Women's Open. Playing at a little event at that little par 3 course you remember. I said, you want a caddy for me? I'm like, absolutely. Give me a shout. So anyways, I didn't hear from him. That Wednesday rolls around. He calls me that morning. He's like, Zabbo, come pick me up. We got that tournament to play. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's go over there. So go pick him up, go over to the tournament. I didn't know what the deal was with the tournament. So we get over there. It's an 11-hole tournament. They added 2 extra holes to the course. They set up some chipping areas to the putting green for extra holes.
Well, it's really just a chipping area anyway, isn't it, though?
Easy. So anyways, so it's a 6-person scramble. I thought I was going to carry his bag and he's going to play out a 6-person scramble with each group has 2 former women's U.S. Open champions. We had Brittany Lang and Joanne Stevenson. Yeah, something like that. But anyway,
big name. Anyway, whoever it was a big name.
I mean, most of the shots, as the listeners know, 48, 52, 26 yards. I think our longest putt was like 3.5 feet, and it was the biggest read out there was like left center every time. So what do you think this does, Mike? Straight, left center, right center. We birdied 11 out of the 11. No hole in ones, unfortunately, but birdied 11 holes and won the event.
Was it Larry and 5 women?
It was Larry and 5 women. It was 2 former Open. Yeah,
that's why he wanted you there.
Actually, you know what happened? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To keep him away. Yeah.
No. I was going to think just give me company.
Yeah, I did, and he hit the pin on 3 and 4 back-to-back holes. Got him on video, both of them. Hit the pin.
Well, I saw you on the TV. I sent you a video.
That's true. I did make an appearance on TV. So
yeah, so embarrassing.
That made up for my week. Yeah.
Do you have because you've had so many hole-in-ones up there? Do you have your face in the Hall of Fame?
I'm working on it. I'm lobbying for it. I think it's going to happen eventually. I'm going to get a few more before I really give the hard push for it. But yeah, I think it's coming.
Richard, old Dick from the pro shop there.
Love Richie.
The flag bearer. He'll certainly lobby for you.
He absolutely will. I appreciate you, Rich.
Now, in the episode you missed through through illness, Zabbo, I was with wee Chris and Eddie. I'd mentioned Adolf. And they both looked at me because, of course, they have no idea what I'm
When you say Adolf, yeah, you're only thinking one guy.
We're only thinking, but we think 2 guys now.
We do. We have a new Adolf.
So we thought he was having a laugh because he would email in and say, here, listen. But I ended up caddying for him.
Let me ask you this. If your parents name you Adolf, do you think you'd go by it? I might go for like Jeff or Steve or something like that. Like, my name's Adolf, but why don't you call me? Yeah, I go by Jeff. Let's just go with Jeff.
That's pretty funny. I thought you were going to come up with something short for
Addy.
Addy.
Yeah, I'm Ad. Just call me Ad.
Well, Adolf actually came into town and he was here for 3 days with a bunch of his mates, and they're from Colorado. Okay. So there's a very wealthy guy with them who, Kenny Taco Bell. He made his money from, basically people shitting themselves.
He just owned a bunch of Taco Bells?
Taco Bells.
Nice.
So he flew them across, and Adolf says to me, oh yeah, this is Joel. This is my mate Joel. He's like a second fella to me. You'll absolutely love him.
Oh.
Yes, kiss of death.
That's like the stories when they go, hey, Zabbo, you'll love this. Why will I love this?
Oh, I got a great story.
Yeah.
You're
really going to
like
this.
Oh, yeah. You're going to love this one. So I thought, okay. And we get to the first green, and I said to Adolf, I said, here, listen, is Joel a bit funny? He goes, well, it takes you a little time, because I thought, this guy's just like really...
A little different.
He kind of looked a bit like Jack Nicholson, the actor.
Yeah.
And he kind of acted a little bit like him in some of his roles.
Kind of dickish, yeah.
No, it was like strange. And he's second guessing everything. He can't see anything that I'm telling him. Can't see anything.
Drives me nuts.
And we get to the 7th at the wee course. Pins at the back. He's in the very back edge. So you know the putt.
Yeah, breaks to the right.
Breaks to the right. It kind of comes up, then it goes down.
Yeah, exactly.
So of course it looks straight uphill.
Yes, it does.
But it's only uphill the first half. You got to get it to a certain point, and then the pants come down. So I give them the read, and they're now they're drinking. Turns out they've been drinking quite heavily on the plane as well, since maybe 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Got here, another couple of drinks. And he can't really understand me either, which obviously some people have an issue with, but
True.
we're kind of struggling to communicate. And I'm explaining what this putt does, but it's too much information for him. And I just know he's going to leave it short. Do you know what I mean?
You
I
can
nearly
feel it.
just
Yep.
threw the white flag in to say,
Yeah.
here, listen, Joel, just give him a 2-putt.
Yeah.
Just let's go.
Yeah. This is not going to go good.
So I'm trying to tell him, yeah, it's about 90%. It's an 80%. Hit it uphill to here. It's just too much. Of course, what happens? And he's going, really? Or, I don't see that. And I'm like, well, you haven't been here many times.
Yeah.
And of course, he leaves it halfway. And
that was straight uphill.
I thought, oh dear, this is going to be a tough back nine. And sure enough, it was a really tough back nine. Well, Adolf listens to every single episode, so he knows how we feel about things. And
Yeah. He sees the writing.
yeah, and I'm committed to the 3 days, but he knows. And we're walking down 18. He said, "We're going to see you tomorrow." He starts, we're going to see you tomorrow. You sure? You sure? So we get paid, and all. I said, "You sure? I'll see you tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll see you tomorrow." So he texts me in the morning again. He says, "You all ready? You still coming?" And
I thought you were going to back up.
Well, I said, "How's Angry Joel?"
Yeah. Could you just like dump his bag and give it to the other caddy? Or?
No, they were partners for the 3 days.
Oh, gotcha.
So I turn up, and they actually said, I guess Adolf had shared every text message I'd sent to him about Angry Joel.
Oh, really?
I was saying,
damn you,
like,
Adolf.
Is he always this angry? It turns out Adolf is a volcano. He is.
Oh, really?
He's the one that usually loses his mind, but he was probably thinking.
Did you get to see that?
I never got to see it,
bummer.
unfortunately. I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
The next 2 rounds were an absolute joy with Joel. It just turned out that
He's having a rough day.
he was having a rough day, plus he was drunk.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people can get a little angry when they get drunk.
well, we ended up going for beers on the 3rd day, and we just had a great time. So,
good.
Joel and I became best friends, but it was kind of funny. One of those where, oh, you'll love this guy. You'll absolutely love him. It's happened a couple of times to me over the, 30 years, almost 30 years I've been caddying. Oh, you guys all got on great. You got on great. Nah.
No, not
we
at
didn't.
all. Not
Didn't
at all.
But Adolf, it was wonderful having you. I gave away a couple of nicknames. Angry Joel. So he's now known as Angry Joel.
Sounds about right.
There was a wee guy called Bobby, so his nickname is Wee Bobby, because if you want to have a look at it, Bobby in Scotland is slightly different from Bobby.
Not like Bobby Lehman that we know.
It's not like Bobby Lehman. He was texting me over the at the Women's US Open, by the way,
course.
telling me what he would be doing.
I mean, my Tour Edge Exotics that Tom Lehman had, I would just stripe it here.
But he is called Adolf. I can confirm that. Quite incredible.
Yeah, he owns it.
I was riding the back of the cart and I said, I feel like Rommel up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Field Marshal Rommel on the
man.
top of Hitler's cart. So there we go. We're going to move on to some mailbag questions now, folks. You may notice that was a kind of a shorter version of our Caddie stories.
Yeah, we're trying something new out.
We're trying something new. We're going to go more regular episodes, but a little bit shorter because we've got some comments saying, hey, we quite like the shorter episodes.
Tell us what you think. Do you guys like the shorter episodes? Do you like to hear us talk for an hour at a time, or do you prefer these brief Caddie stories?
Yes, that's a really good point there, Zabbo. You can get in contact with us anytime. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just look for Glorified Donkey if you're not already following. And also email podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. Ultimately, the podcast is all about the listeners, so we want to bring you what you want to hear. Are there favourite guests you've had? Are there certain aspects of what we do that you really enjoy or don't like? Please let us know, and we will try and keep as many people
and send those
happy as
questions in.
possible.
We always love fresh mailbag questions, so throw some curveballs at us.
Before we crack on, Zabbo,
Okay.
what I would say about the Ladies Open, there was a real amount of buzz about it, which is great to see.
Agreed. Not only that, I know you're going to laugh at this, but
won't laugh.
it got me interested in the women's game. I followed the tournament this week. I didn't know they were playing in London, but I followed the LPGA this week, and yeah.
I know more about the game than you do, and you're following it.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Oh dear, that's so funny. But no, listen, we always have a joke and a laugh, and we do sometimes give women a hard time. We give men a hard time too.
Yeah, we're equal opportunity haters.
And we had a good laugh with this. In our next episode, actually, we had a woman. We should mention that.
We did, yeah. Marcella. Yeah.
Marcella
Smith, yeah.
Marcella Smith. So you can look forward to that, either next episode or the one after. We'll put it out. But she was up for that.
Very good.
That
Very good episode. I think you guys will enjoy that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Mailbag questions. Okay, this one is the one I was talking about. It's pertaining to the ladies' game.
Okay, bring it.
The women's game of golf is dominated by Asian girls. Why do you think this is the case for women, and why not in the men's game? And that's from a Patrick in Southfield, and that's in Michigan. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, you want me to field this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think it coincides with the with the domination of the Women's Open by Sairi Pak 20 years ago, and it just brought Asian women into the game, and I do think that they're a lot more disciplined. They're a lot more disciplined, and when they get focused, they're willing to focus on one sport. I think a lot of the Americans, when they're growing up, as parents, myself included, we push our kids to do variety of sports, like try a little bit of this, a little of that. A lot of those Asian parents, and it's not good or bad, but they find the sport and they say, this is what we're going to focus on, and this is what you're going to do. And the kids are disciplined enough to say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And they play that game and practice that game all day, every day until they master it. And that's why you see all of these Asian women are dominating the sport in the women's game.
Well, if they're not disciplined, they'll bring out the belt.
It's true. There's a lot of truth to that. They discipline them different over there.
Interesting. What about it's not happening in the men's game? Why is that?
I think there's a couple of things there. I think, first of all, Sairi Pak brought a lot of Asian women to the game. I think you will see an influx of this in the women's game with guys like Hideki Matsuyama. You know, I mean, the KJ Choi, he had a good career, but he wasn't that inspiring for the men's game. Another thing, and we've talked about this, is the build of Asian men as opposed to, European and American men. They are not built the same. They don't have the same frames. I mean, yes, you have guys like Sung J.M., you have guys like Hideki Matsuyama, Minwoo Lee. You got guys like that who are at the elite level of the game and can play, but there's not as many as those guys with the same type of builds. I mean, it's simple facts. I mean, you can't get around it.
Ethnicity is huge when you look at distance in the men's game.
100%.
When you are 5 foot nothing, it's going to be tough to hit the ball 350 yards. Now, some people can do it, yeah.
It's simple physics.
So someone like Dustin Johnson, who basically is shaped like a pyramid, if you think about it, right? He's huge.
Tall, lanky, strong.
They're not rules of thumb. They're generalizations, but
correct.
You would rather, if you were building a baseball player, if you were building an American footballer, you build somebody what the perfect one would look like, you'd pretty much get someone like Dustin Johnson.
Every time.
So I think there's that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I think in the women's game, I agree with what you're saying. I would also say that once you start swinging the club over 100 miles an hour for every mile per hour, it's very hard to keep that consistency. So I think that's part of the process, because men swing it so much faster.
What do you mean? Like they miss it more?
You're going to miss the ball more.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The women are much straighter than the men.
Much straighter.
Yeah.
So, well, that could be taken in two ways there, Zabbo.
They are and they aren't. They are in some regards, in other regards, not so much.
Absolute gold. We'll move on. When you guys caddy off of a cart, do you ride on the back of the cart? That's from a Taylor Sanchez, I think, and that's from Lancaster, New York. So
I mean, oddly enough, today I saw one where there was a player in the cart and a caddy driving the cart, and the other player was riding on the back of the cart. I'm like, wow, bro, that's just such a bad look. Bad luck when the player's on the back of the cart and the caddy's driving.
Horrendous.
But yeah, we do. I mean, before there was rules like you couldn't do it because it takes one caddy getting injured and suing somebody, and then you can't do it anymore. But yeah, we do.
How do you feel about that? Me personally, from where I'm from, you jump in the back of a cart, you assume responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're gonna get back there, you know the risks. It says on the cart, do not step. Literally, it's in writing on the golf cart.
I have seen so many different rules about what we're meant to do and what we can't do over the years. It's kind of, they would say that you couldn't do it, but when the big honchos would come in town. There'd be two of us in the back for a shotgun
You must
start.
do it. Yeah, you must do it.
Come on, behave yourself.
Different rules for different people.
But yeah, no, I would always ride in the back.
Of course, yeah, we're caddies. We don't want to walk.
I would never allow a player to jump in the back because then that's when liability really comes into it, especially for the driver, especially if they've been drinking.
Definitely.
You have to watch yourself. You have to anticipate really bad driving.
Yes, plenty of that out there.
I was at a course just up the road, and I'm in the back of the car for the first day and the second day, and all of a sudden the guy at the first tee tells my player, "Oh yeah, you caddies have to walk." And I'm thinking,
get out of here.
He's like, I don't want him walking. Number one, he says, I'm not walking myself.
Yeah.
So for the first hole, I walked.
Yeah.
As soon as I got to the second, jump in the back. Then this lad came up. I could just knew.
Here we go.
Typical course ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Over the age of 65. I called him the fun police. I went, oh, here we go. Here's the fun police, which obviously that went down like a lead balloon.
Yeah, he loved that, I'm sure.
It was the way he said it. It wasn't what he said. See if he came up and he said, listen, mate, honestly, please don't go in the back. You know, liability and stuff, insurance. Yeah. We just ask you to.
He wasn't that polite about it.
No, he wasn't. Yeah. So that's why I called him the fun police. Then he asked what tee-off time. I said, do you know why he's asking our tee-off time? I said, so we can grass us in. On you go. Yeah. I said, do you want our names too? So I get right in his face about it, which, you know, poke the bear.
Needless to say, he won't be back to that course.
I was not invited back. But it's, you know, it's a little bit like when I took the dog out up to the course and the pro comes out. If he just said, listen, mate, please don't do it.
Yeah.
If someone sees you a dog, everyone's going to bring the
all about tone.
Dog.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, you know what? You're actually right. It's a bit like us in the golf course. We can tell someone they're the worst golfer we've ever met in their life.
But be nice about it.
But be nice about it and they'll laugh and smile.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Next question. This is from a Cole Hampton. He sent this in on Instagram and he says, Big G, first year caddy at Valhalla Golf Course in Kentucky.
Nice.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. I just started listening to the podcast a few months ago, and it's my favourite pod I listen to.
Awesome.
There you go. It's your favourite podcast as well. It's the only one you listen to. What are your thoughts on new caddies using green books? Even though I've been in the caddy business for less than a year, I have some great caddy stories. Okay, well, you can share them at some point.
Absolutely.
What do you think about new caddies using green books?
They can be helpful if you know what you're looking at. I mean, they certainly can be helpful if you know what you're looking at. At the tour level now, they've been banned, so the caddies can't even use them out there at all. I think the best way to learn how to read the greens is experience. You know, have a little general knowledge and how to read a green, and then you just got to get out there and experience it. But I do think the books can be helpful.
Absolutely, for a certain amount of time, but not like the one I told you about where the lad had it the whole time. Yeah,
sometimes it goes a little overboard.
Yeah, it's too much. He's not reading the putts. He's reading the book.
Exactly. At some point, you have to look at the grass and you got to look at the ball and read the putt.
Cole was manager at Chick-fil-A for a few years before he became a caddy.
I don't know why'd you give that one up. Free chicken from Chick-fil-A. You can't beat that.
Yeah, and he's absolutely loving it. Valhalla. Do you know what Valhalla means?
What the word means?
Yeah,
I do not.
That is heaven for the Vikings.
Wow, I heard Valhalla is a pretty sweet golf course, though.
They had a Ryder Cup there.
They did, that's right.
And that's where famously Boo Weekley rode the club down the first tee.
Oh, yeah. That was the site?
2011, I think it was. Because he's from Kentucky, I think.
I think he is.
Boo Weekley. You could, if we got that wrong.
He certainly looks like he's from Kentucky.
Please let us know. podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. Now, one thing I'd like to incorporate over the next 6 months, a year, is I want to start reviewing products.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people will email us or they'll text you and they'll say, what do you think about this golf ball? Or what do you think about this? I'm going to buy this new bag.
Definitely, yeah.
So we always get it. I always, caddying, you see players with their rangefinders.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time we take carts. So
true.
They have the magnetic.
Yeah, some of the rangefinders actually have the magnet built in, but you got it. What do you have there?
Well, I contacted a company called Stickit, and Stickit make 3 or 4 different products that incorporate magnets into products that can be used on golf. So they have a golf towel.
Mm-hmm.
So this is great. Instead of throwing your towel on the ground, there's a magnet so you can actually pick it up.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah.
They also sent us a magnet that you can actually, if you're carrying your bag, you can attach it inside the golf bag.
Put your towel against that.
Well, your rangefinder as well. And then my favourite, which is for your actual rangefinder itself.
Yes. They sent us some beautiful, and it actually has the Glorified Donkey logo on it. The one they sent it is very nice.
So they're out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Look them up.
Stickitmagneticgear.com. So stickitmagneticgear.com. And if you just look for Stick It Magnetic Strap, that's the one I want. So at some point, a YouTube review video will happen.
Good product.
Zabbo, shout out time.
Well, gotta shout out my boy Glenn Hill and Brooke Hill, who were
Hey Brooke,
hey Brandon. Yeah, they were great to have. Gotta shout out Michelle and Tom Cast, who I caddied for. New people I caddied for. They were great. We had a great time out there.
Lovely.
Yeah. And I gotta shout out my good friend Lee, who's here for the next couple of weeks. Insurance group that I know you're on every year. It's good to have him back in town.
General Lee back in town.
He listens to the podcast religiously. Good to have him back in town.
Excellent. I want to say hello to Vicky. Vicky was a lady I met a couple of months ago on the course. So much fun. And then she actually bought us some beers.
Nice.
That's something we always forget to tell people. If you want to support the podcast, we want to keep adverts and commercials down to an absolute minimum. We have our sponsor. Obviously, we'll talk about companies like Stick It because it's actually a useful product.
It is.
We don't want to just be advertising all sorts of nonsense. So if you want to support us, it's up to you. Buy us a beer. It's a website called buyusacoffee.com. But if you go to
coffee,
that's what it is. If you go to the Glorified Donkey website, glorifieddonkey.com, or our Twitter account, you'll be able to find a link and you can buy the boys a beer. So Vicky did that. Many thanks, Vicky. It was a pleasure. Adolf, obviously, all the boys from Colorado.
Shout out Laddie.
And also Mike Jimenez.
The caddy Mike Jimenez?
Yes.
Is he a listener?
I worked with him. He is a religious listener.
Oh, great. I didn't even know that.
So, you can always tell people, they say, oh, you still doing the podcast? And you go, well, obviously you're not listening.
Yeah.
Mike, he said, oh, I loved the one you did with such and such.
Nice.
I like that one.
Good guy, good caddy.
So I worked with him the other day, and we chatted. He's a guy that travels about an hour to work.
He does, literally, every day.
So he likes the long episodes. But this is a shorter episode. As I say, we're going to try just changing things up a little bit. Let us know what you think. Podcast at glorifieddonkey.com or via social media. Zabbo, thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you. Good to be back.
It's good to have you back. Yeah. Fresh pants and all.
Absolutely.
Next episode will either be Marcella Smith talking about the rules of golf and women playing golf, or it'll be another one with myself and Zabbo. We haven't decided yet. Until the next time, many thanks for listening. Go out, enjoy your golf, but remember, you're just not that good.